Hello everybody. So I'm continuing to walk around my favorite street of Chicago, and I came across this Mercury Montego, which by itself doesn't really raise any eyebrows, or it's not offensive, and it's a very basic kind of car. But the reason why it caught my attention was because, first of all, it's only a few feet away from my good old friend, the Lincoln Towncar. I featured it in a couple different videos right there. And the reason for that is because I think this was the attempt for Ford at the time, and Mercury, and possibly they had some plans to make a Lincoln out of it. This was their attempt to make a downgraded version of their full-size fleet, which at the time consisted of the Lincoln Towncar, that's actually right there. We had the Mercury Grand Marquis was still being made, and so did the Ford Crown Victoria. So these Montegos, they existed at a time, at the same time. So this was a pretty failed attempt by Ford Lincoln Mercury at the time to kind of make this into a new norm, because I think these cars were only existed for a few years in the mid-2000s, and then they were dropped. I think they did have, based on the same platform, it's again all in the mid-2000s, the Montego, they had the Taurus. I don't think they had a Lincoln variant of this vehicle, but there was also some other stuff that they built on it. I think there was a Taurus Flex, I think, or something like that, or I'm going to be compensating my lack of knowledge with pictures. And I think they actually developed this in conjunction with Volvo, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I don't know if there was any Volvos that are based on this platform, but I know they worked together because Volvo at the time was owned by Ford. Ooh, look at this. Yeah, this is taking a beating. And the funny thing is about this car in particular, this Mercury Montego, I think it's actually less attractive than the Ford Taurus variant of the time. And I think the Montego name was only used for a couple years, and then they switched it into a Sable, which arguably pretty much the same thing. I think they played around with the interior a little bit differently. But ultimately, this was a failed attempt to downsize and make it quote-unquote more modern than what it was. And the reason why I think this car is kind of looking ugly is because of that front. They try to Mercurize it for this market, but I think the Taurus had a more attractive design than this. I know they kind of stuck with this waterfall growth stuff, but who cares? Like, Mercury by that time was, I think, just a shell of its former self. And if it was a choice between this and the Grand Marquis, I think 99% of the people would choose Grand Marquis. Now, walking back to my good old friend, the Lincoln Towncar, I think it actually suffered some bumper damage since the last time I saw it. I don't think this bumper damage was there a few weeks ago when I filmed it prior. So, yeah, I do feel bad for it, because this is the last of its breed and last of its kind, and I think it's kind of suffering at the hands of whoever the owner is. I think this damage was already there. Once again, I would have to go back and kind of check it out, my older videos. Maybe I'll have a documentary to sell to this owner, whoever he or she is. But yeah, what would you rather have at the time? Would you rather have this or the Grand Marquis version? Or this, the failed attempt? Sorry, I had to pause. Somebody was in the shot. Or this, which is a pseudo full-size, kind of, I don't know, ugly looking thing without a sunroof too. They had a really problem with sunroofs. And also, as I was walking back, I just noticed something too. I think it suffered some back or some rear end damage here as well. Right there. So, I don't know. If it was me, I would choose this every day of the week than that. But that's why you rarely ever see these Montegos. Montegos, whatever these things are. I see plenty of these Ford Taurus versions of this car. I mean, they're still out there quite a lot. But the actual Montego, I don't think anybody bought it. And also, let's look at the inside, and I'll be posting a better pictures in this. What do you even get that's like a luxury in here? Well, you get the clock. Somebody driving very loud music. Yeah, you get pretty much the same thing. Like, there was no Mercury material to be had. And then the rear seats are okay. Once again, you guys can see me, can't see the picture. So anyway, that was kind of an interesting look, because once again, I pretty much never ever see these Montegos or Sable variants. I think Sable variants are even more rare. Yeah, and it looks like they had a replacement taillight, because look, the taillights are different. So, all right, well, thanks everybody. Once again, quick look. Only I find this thing interesting, so I hope so will you. And I really hope for some good health to this Towncar owner and his or her car.